Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving headfirst into something truly wild. We've got three intensely personal, reportedly true encounters that, well, they completely defy logic. We've combed through these first-hand accounts of impossible experiences, and honestly, looking at the totally terrifying anomalies tying them all together, it's gonna make you question just how solid our grip on reality actually is. Check out this quote straight from our first source. Even in this modern era, with all the technology we have, some things still are unexplainable. I mean, let that sink in for a second, right? We're all walking around with literal supercomputers in our pockets. We've got satellites tracking everything. And yet, there are still these massive, terrifying blind spots. So we're skipping our usual agenda today to plunge directly into the dark. Let's look at the testimonies. First up, case file number 1, the secluded house intrusion. Now, to really grasp this one, you've got to put yourself in this setting. Imagine a highly secluded rural estate, just completely swallowed up by massive empty fields. We've got a young woman and her boyfriend totally alone in this house for the weekend. Literally, if you walked out the back door, you could wander for acres and still be on the same property. It's that kind of deep isolation that is so peaceful during the day, right? But at night, it takes on this incredibly eerie, vulnerable vibe. And it was right in the middle of that total isolation that the silence was just completely shattered. And look at how fast things went south here. Right at 1 a.m., the couple is practically thrown out of bed by this ground-shaking noise. It sounded like a massive boat horn, but way deeper, literally vibrating the china in the cabinets. Then, just minutes later, boom, a blinding lightning-like flash lights up the completely empty backyard. Shortly after that, swaying silhouettes pop up right outside the window, accompanied by this bizarre alien-sounding whispering. Instantly, cell service and Wi-Fi, gone, completely drop out. And then we hit the absolute climax. A second massive horn blast hits. The phones suddenly light up with service again, and at that exact same second, both the locked front and side doors violently blow wide open. Now, this right here is exactly why this case totally breaks the laws of logic. Obviously, the couple called 911 the millisecond their phones reconnected. But when the cops showed up, they walked into a literally impossible crime scene. The source notes, it was muddy, yet there were no footprints anywhere outside. Think about that. Those silhouettes had been standing right outside the side door. The doors were physically blown inward by some unseen force, and yet there was absolutely zero physical evidence in that soft mud that anyone or anything was actually there. Moving on to case file 2, the dancing lake lights. So our second encounter takes us to an isolated camp house sitting right on a massive lake. And a key detail here, it's March. We're talking freezing, off-season weather, absolutely no neighbors, no vacationers around, just a guy going through a bad breakup and his black lab, Zemo. And listen, Zemo is crucial to this story because he acts as this weird early warning system. Before the witness even saw anything up in the sky, his dog was absolutely refusing to go outside, just crying at the door. And as animal owners know, that's a massive red flag. So what exactly was terrifying the dog? Well, on night 1, the witness steps out and sees these distant dancing balls of light way out on the horizon. They're moving erratically before just shooting straight up into the pitch black sky. Super weird, sure, but maybe you could brush it off as some bizarre weather thing. But then, night 2 happens. The lights come back, and this time, they are way closer. The witness noted this deep, creeping sense of unease because the lights stopped acting random. Instead, several of these distinct floating spheres slowly and intentionally merged together right over the water, forming one massive hovering orb. That deliberate merging, yeah, that totally shattered any comforting theories he had about drones or swamp gas. But man, night 3 is where this turns into a full-on aggressive encounter. Let's break it down. Step 1, the lights don't fly in this time, they literally just pop instantly into existence. Step 2, they slowly start moving directly toward the shore, letting out this faint fluorescent humming sound. Step 3, the second they hit the backyard, it's total chaos. They go completely erratic, shooting off like literal fireworks, visually striking the house and the trees while the witness is actually cowering on the floor inside with his dog. And finally, step 4, the lights just instantly vanish. Poof, gone. The guy goes outside to check the property, completely expecting to see burn marks or massive structural damage. The result? Zero. Absolutely no physical damage whatsoever. It's like the physical world was totally untouched by this insane display of energy. And the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that number 3. This wasn't some trick of the eye or a one-off hallucination. This incredibly complex, heavily escalating phenomenon happened at the exact same time for 3 consecutive nights. It proved to the witness that this wasn't random. It was a sustained, deliberate event playing out right over that freezing water. All right, bringing us to case file 3, the tall forest figure. For this setting, we're heading deep, deep into the woods. We've got a family traveling cross-country in an RV, and they've parked for the night at a vast, heavily forested campground. Our witness, who's a dad, has this habit of sneaking off in the middle of the night for a secret cigarette, getting away from his family for a bit. So he maps out this specific little route, just a quick 15-minute midnight walk deep into the trees so he can sit on this totally isolated little ledge. Now, while he's chilling on this ledge, he hits a major sensory anomaly. He describes hearing this continuous, deeply unnatural, pulsating wow sound, just echoing out of the dark woods. He's an experienced camper, so he instantly knows this is definitely not any North American animal. But curiosity gets the better of him, and he actually walks deeper into the pitch black to try and find the source. And here's the creepy part. When he feels like he's standing right on top of it, the pulsating sound just stops. But even worse, all the normal ambient forest noise abruptly mutes. The wind, the crickets, the bugs, everything just goes dead, heavy, silent. In the middle of that absolute, suffocating silence, he hears something move right behind him. He turns around and finds an entity standing maybe 10 feet away. The source report logs the description almost like a suspect profile. It was over 7 feet tall. It was bipedal, so standing on 2 legs, but it was holding this bizarre hunched posture, almost like it was getting ready to pounce. It had these massive eyes that were literally reflecting the faint moonlight. And when the witness finally gathered the courage to take just a tiny half step forward, the entity flinched, let out this horrific noise, and used this completely unnatural, skittering kind of movement to just vanish right back into the pitch black woods. And the second it was gone, all the normal sounds of the forest instantly rushed back in. Okay, but that physical standoff, that's really only half the terror of this case. You have to compare his expectation to the actual reality here. The expected trip was supposed to be a quick 15-minute walk from the RV, a smoke, and a walk back. An hour total, tops. The reality? When he finally snapped out of it and got back to the RV, his wife was absolutely furious. He hadn't been gone for an hour, he'd been gone for several hours. The guy checks his phone and gets that chilling realization. He had a massive chunk of completely missing time and zero memory of where it went. And to top off that whole terrifying psychological nightmare, right near sunrise, he heard this heavy, completely silent whoosh fly directly over his head. Okay, section 4, connecting the strange threads. So, when we actually sit down and map out the commonalities across these 3 very different source encounters, some pretty striking patterns start to jump out. Just look at the sensory anomalies. None of these were purely visual events, right? The secluded house had that terrifying ground-shaking horn and the whispering. The lake house brought that weird fluorescent humming. And the deep forest gave us that pulsating wow and the heavy whoosh. There's a very clear, distinct auditory signature to all of this. But honestly, the most staggering connection by far is the completely unexplained aftermath. In all 3 of these cases, reality itself basically just seems to bend. Think about it. A muddy yard yields absolutely no footprints. A house violently bombarded by energy takes 0 physical damage. A man stands 10 feet from a giant creature only to completely lose several hours of his actual life. The physical evidence simply does not match the event. At all. Which leaves us staring straight into the unknown with one final, deeply unsettling question. What actually ties an invisible force opening locked doors, merging light orbs, and stolen time in a silent forest? Look, the witnesses themselves are the first to admit they have absolutely no rational answers. We've impartially laid out the timelines, the incredibly isolated settings, and that frankly bizarre lack of physical evidence. And the data just strongly points to phenomena operating entirely outside our current understanding of physics and the natural world. So, what do you think connects these 3 chilling events? We might have all the modern tech in the world, but it's pretty clear the dark still holds some major secrets we just cannot explain. Keep questioning the unknown, you guys, and thanks so much for joining me on